Hello. Welcome to Bod Maverick After Dark, your definitive Dallas Mavericks podcast of infinite failure. Guys, it's 12 o'clock on Sunday, April 6th. The Dallas Mavericks fell to 3 games under 500 because they got waxed by the Los Angeles Clippers, 135-104. I'm here with Josh Bowe. We're going to be quick about this because I'm going to host a secondary live show, a group chat after this, and then I want to hear from you guys directly. But Josh and I are going to talk about this game first. Josh, how you doing?
I'm all right. I'm tired. That game sucked. I'm not in a good mood.
I'm trying to consider a game that I felt this awful after having watched this season.
Honestly, yeah, they've lost some bad games since the Luka trade, but this was like those other losses, when you lose by 30 to the Rockets and you don't, you're playing 8 guys, and you're playing 2 G leaguers, it's like, all right, whatever. This game was the closest they've been to approximating kind of the team that they want to be. Obviously, not that close because no Kyrie Irving, no Daniel Gafford, but you had the vision of the big front court. You had PJ, you had Anthony Davis, you had Derek Lively, which I think that's the first time those 3 have started since that Houston game, Anthony Davis's first game after the trade. Yep. Can't remember if PJ played in Lively's previous first game, but maybe I'm wrong. But that's the most they've played together, I think, since that Houston game. PJ, Anthony Davis, and Lively, and so obviously it's not. There's still a lot of incomplete grades because no Kyrie, no Gafford, but like that they got closer. And despite the fact that they got closer, they lost by 31 points. And it's hard to say a 31 point, like the scoreboard actually made this look like a better game than it was. Like the fact that the Mavericks were only down 9 at halftime did not do justice to how awful they looked and how they were playing and how much they were getting beat in this game. And then the second half then the scoreboard caught up. Like they should have been losing by this many points for most of the game, like 20 to 30. And the fact that they wasn't really, I don't think, due to anything the Mavericks were doing, but more just the Clippers kind of playing around with their food. But that was an ugly loss, effort and strategy wise. It was a waste of time. It was a waste of everyone's time to stay up late to watch that game.
Just a very accurate, a waste of everyone's time. And all right, so it's worth noting to me, I think, that this Clippers team, who, you look at the NBA standings, they've won something like 13 out of 16, and yet they haven't moved at all in the Western Conference. This Clippers team is playing slightly like they're not as bad as I'm not saying that right. They're playing much better than their record suggests. So I hate the Clippers. Like I have an institutional built-in hatred against the Clippers. But it's worth noting tonight, at least for me, that as I'm watching them play tonight, I was almost admiring how well they played.
They're very good. They're a very good team.
So tell me if you remember this correctly. I feel like in the first round of the playoffs last year, the Dallas Mavericks, my understanding was, and this is hindsight, but the Mavericks took the bet that James Harden was not going to be able to hit the floaters. Yeah. Is that something you remember?
Yeah, that's why they lost that one game. Remember, Harden made
the first game. It was like they lost game 1 again, and we're like, Jesus Christ, Jason Kidd, can't you win a fucking game 1 ever?
It was not the game 1. That game they hit a bunch of threes. It was that game in Dallas. It was either game 3 or 4.
Okay.
When Harden hit like 6 floaters in a row, and everyone got mad because they weren't adjusting. But yeah, I know. Yeah, but that definitely happened. But I don't,
crispest James Harden game I have seen.
Yeah, he looked very good. He looked like Houston James Harden tonight.
He hit a floater at the end of the first quarter that made it 33 to 30 or 21, where it was like, what the shit? Like he just dropped it from like 9 feet out. And I was really, really frustrated watching this game. And it was just something and not like frustrated in a, and I guess I was frustrated with the Mavericks, but I really don't feel like they could have done anything against the Clippers in a lot of circumstances because Harden was on his game. And I want to give credit to the Clippers for once. Harden was on his game, 29 points, set 14 assists to 2 turnovers, along with 7 rebounds in a mere 31 minutes. Like he carved the Mavericks alive. Ivica Zubac scored 25 points and 10 rebounds to go with a perfect 11 of 11 shooting. The Mavericks did not bother him at all. And the real like piece de resistance was Kawhi Leonard's asshole self coming back, playing his first back-to-back all season, and simply annihilating the Mavs. He was 29 points plus 27 in 25 minutes.
Yeah, that looked like 2020, the Kawhi the Mavericks saw in those playoff series back in 2020 and 2021. You hit the nail on the head though with the Zubac stuff. He ate them alive. Like, look, the Mavericks offense sucking tonight is not surprising, especially if Kawhi is going to look like San Antonio Spurs Kawhi at times, like just taking the ball away from people. So like, and again, the Mavericks losing this game isn't surprising either. The part that's disconcerting is the defensive effort because look, James Harden had a good night, Kawhi had a good night. Okay, the Mavericks, they have no perimeter defenders. Part of that is their own choosing. They traded Quentin Grimes away, who could have been maybe useful in staying attached to Harden around some of these pick and rolls because that's something Grimes is very good at. But Zubac's owning them and the Clippers owning them in the paint. The Clippers had 80 points in the paint. They shot 40 of 62 in the paint. They had 68 points in the paint by the end of the third quarter. If you're going to start and build your identity around PJ Washington at the 3, Anthony Davis at the 4, and then choose a center at 5, whether it's Lively or Gafford, I don't care if Jason Kidd right now was your point guard. Like, you cannot give up 68 points in the paint through 3 quarters if that's the identity of the team you want to build around, because you are giving some things up by playing super big with 2 bigs and PJ Washington, who should be a 4, who's playing at the 3. You are conceding spacing, you are conceding some offense, but you are saying, okay, we are bigger and stronger than you. We are not giving up the rim. We are not giving up the paint. You're going to have to outshoot us. The Clippers made 11 3-pointers. They were 11 of 28, which is a decent enough percentage, but they only made 11. The Clippers did not win this game by blitzing the Mavericks from the 3-point line. They won this game because they dominated the paint against a team that is specifically built to not allow the paint to be dominated, and that's the philosophy of the team. I get that there are injuries, no Gafford, but guys, like Kyrie Irving, that doesn't equal into this equation in terms of like giving up paint points. Like if Kyrie played, that doesn't mean the paint defense is significantly better tonight. Obviously, less Spencer Dinwiddie would help. He is not a good defender, but still, you have 3 supposedly elite rim defenders playing in your starting lineup, and you give up 80 points in the paint tonight. Granted, against a good Clippers team, but like, come on, like that's embarrassing. Like it wasn't good enough. Anthony Davis had 0 blocks in 27 minutes. He wanted absolutely nothing to do with the physicality of this game.
His we need to talk about him, and I think we save him for the second half of the show.
That's fine. He was terrible, but we'll talk about him later. Okay, go ahead. I got a lot of ammo. Like
no, you did, and that was what was so great because I run the playback with David during the show, and I decided to write the recap for this, and mainly because like who wants to? It's such a late show. Like if you're listening to this, we understand, guys. Like we're not stupid. our listenership goes down on weekends and during losses. Like that's just the nature of fandom. You guys got shit to do. But Josh
they
and I
also
are going
go
to
down after you trade your
They also go
franchise
down after,
cornerstone.
yeah. That's we'll worry about that in case Pod Maverick ever goes towards extinction. But Josh and I are like we understand. So it's we want to do this anyways because I don't want to save it for a show next week. Like who cares? But we're talking about this, and it's just this game was once again over midway through the first quarter, and I hate the feeling of wasting my time. And that's what I really like. My whole weekend, like I mean this, like my evening weekend has been dedicated to the Mavericks, and it was a waste of my time. And I am mad about that. And it just I hate it. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna insert some ads here real quick. If you guys have been listening to the show more, understand like we're inserting a few more ads because we're with a new podcasting network. That's how this show pays the bills. That's how Josh and I are able to do this. We would appreciate it if you listen. We'll be right back. And then we'll talk a little bit more. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Okay. So if you guys are here on a Sunday morning, Saturday night, depending on your time zone, that Josh and I are here. One of our loyal listeners today tweeted out. He's like, hey, listen to these shows. These shows have taken a hit. Yes and no. We're going to be okay. This is a tough time. We're going to, I think a lot of Mavericks fans will come back during the off season just because there's interesting things to talk about. This is not a particularly fun time to be a Mavericks fan. That said, if you're with us, you're with us. So consider subscribing to the show, liking the podcast right now, depending on what your feed is. If you're listening on an audio stream, if you're watching live on YouTube in the middle of a Sunday morning, you're a true sicko and you're my people. We value you. Please subscribe to the show. Josh and I would appreciate that. All right. Now I really want to give you a little bit of landing or a takeoff zone because we've had like a behind the scenes, like a series of weeks where the ongoing joke has been Kirk is going to get canceled because Kirk's going to say something stupid about Anthony Davis. And it sounds like, at least listening to your comments tonight, that you were kind of fed up with how he was either utilized and or played. So why don't you go?
I didn't like his game tonight at all. And again, if this is what it looks like because he's playing through an injury, then don't play. That's kind of where I'm at. It is very, he's toughing it out. I give him all the props in the world for trying to shed this label. Great for him, but the team needs to step in and be like, let's get you right. We are not going to win anything this season. We are going to at best get the 8th seed and play the best team in the NBA, the Thunder. Like, just use some logic. Get him healthy, get him ready for next season. Because they're going to need him healthy, by the way, to start next season as healthy as he can be. Because he's going to have to do a lot because Kyrie Irving's not going to be ready till All-Star break. Or, yeah, like I don't know when Kyrie, we know for sure he's not going to play through the first couple of months at the very least. So they're going to need him for the start of next season. So again, commendable that he wants to gut it out. But if this is what it looks like, obviously he had the great game against Atlanta, and that was fun. And I don't want to deny anyone's enjoyment of that. But if this is what it's going to look like against good teams, and they're about to play in the playoffs, and you only play winning teams when you get to the playoffs, I don't see the benefit here.
Tell me your fun little stat. Tell me your fun little Mavs win-loss stat. You shared it in the Slack, but they've only beaten how many teams with a winning record?
They are 1-11 against teams with a winning record since February 13th. The average margin of loss in those 11 losses is 20.2 points per game. Obviously, Anthony Davis. I know, winning teams. Obviously, Anthony Davis did not play in all of those games. But he's played in 2 of them, and they're one, I guess, just the Clippers game. That's the only, because everyone else has been a losing record: Atlanta, Orlando, Chicago, Brooklyn twice. So he's only played in 1 of those. But tonight was just on defense. He wasn't near the basket enough to protect the rim because he's playing power forward, and the Clippers don't play a power forward, by the way. Clippers play 1 big the whole game. Even they don't even play a backup center, by the way. Like their backup center is, I don't know, Ben Simmons, Derek Jones Jr., like Batum. Like they don't even really play. Like they got Drew Eubanks, who plays some spot minutes, but he only played 7 minutes. So they play it pretty small. So he was guarding out near the 3-point line for a lot of the game because he's playing the 4 because he's not playing the 5. So his impact in the paint was neutralized because the Clippers spread things out, and it's like, okay. And then the other side of the floor, I mean, he's shooting mostly jumpers against a team again that only is playing one big man for most of the game. He shot. Let me pull it up because I need to know. Where is it? Anthony Davis. He shot 5 mid-range jumpers, and then he shot 6 shots in the paint outside the restricted area, and he shot 3 shots in the restricted area tonight. 5 3-pointers, 5 mid-range jumpers. That's 10 long jump shots out of his shot total tonight. Against this Clippers team, that's not great. He wanted nothing to do with Zubats in the paint. And then when he had a small on him, he just took a bunch of jumpers. Even if he got near the paint, he still took kind of jump shots.
Did you see that play early in the first quarter? Maybe his first quarter, but Zubac gets the ball at the top of the key and realizes nobody is in front of him, and he drove the whole way and then dished it off for a Kawhi layup that Kawhi missed. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
He barreled into Anthony Davis so fucking hard. Anthony Davis almost ended up on the baseline. Now, to Anthony Davis's credit, he recovered. He distracted Kawhi or whoever it was and then secured the rebound. It was actually a really impressive defensive sequence. But that level of physicality, he is just not made for it. He's not. And I'm sorry, it's not a criticism to say that a human being cannot take other human beings running into him on repeat and still be able to perform. Okay. I don't hate him.
No.
That people get so mad at me. They're like, oh, you hate this guy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, no, he's actually kind of insane. I actually respect Anthony Davis a great deal. He plays through a great deal of pain. The problem is he's not very effective when he's in pain.
Yeah. I mean, he had 13 free throw attempts, which was good.
Really good.
For the times he did. He did exploit the mismatches during those situations.
It's 6 turnovers though, and zero assists.
0 assists. Yeah, that's bad.
That's Joel Embiid.
Yeah, the thing I really didn't like about the offense, the approach with him is, so he's playing the 4, and Lively played the 5, and I think I don't know how many minutes he played the 5 tonight, but it wasn't a lot. But
right.
When he plays the 4, and this happened tonight, he was not setting a ton of on-ball screens. The only time he really set on-ball screens were those ones where he was trying to force a switch to get a mismatch, than to isolate and attack. In terms of like real screen and rolls where he is dive into the rim and the floor is spread out, that just doesn't happen because you can't run a screen and roll when you've got a center in the dunker spot. You can't run a screen and roll when your 3-man is PJ Washington and teams don't care about him as a floor spacer. So
I think you're going to write about that at some point.
No, I know. So that's why, like, he's taking all these jumpers because that's the offense they kind of have to run. And then he goes off the bench. He goes to the bench, and Kai Jones comes in, and Kai Jones plays the 5.
9.
Yeah, he comes in. He plays the 5 with 4 perimeter players, and he's screen and rolling like a madman, getting dunks with Dinwiddie. And it's the best the offense looks. And then Davis comes in, and they play this slow, plodding style that's not, I don't even know if it's Davis's fault, but I mean, if he wants to play the 4, he has to make threes, and he can't make, he's like a career 30% shooter from 3. He can't rim run with another center on the floor. And so the offense is just this slow. There's no on-ball screens. There's no movement. Klay Thompson had a great game somehow shooting wise, but like, it's hard to maximize Klay if you're not getting the defense moving, if the defense can stay on Klay, because they're not getting guys in rotation, and their guards can't get guys into rotation right now because it's Dinwiddie, it's Thompson, it's Christie. Like, these guys can't beat guys, one-on-one off the dribble. So You're making things harder for your guards who are already limited because they're up a rung or two because of the injuries. You're making things harder for Davis himself because he doesn't have space to roll into the lane because you're playing another center. But also that's what Davis wants. He literally said in a nationally televised interview when he was with the Lakers that he was like, I want the Lakers to trade for a center because he's never wanted to play center, despite the fact that he's almost always been at his best at center. And that's just kind of how it is. And just watching, felt like I was watching, just a team from the Stone Age play against a modern team because it doesn't work. He had 27 and 9, and he 8 and 19. And it looks okay, but he was a minus 16, and there was never a point in the game where I felt like they were threatening with this offense. And
so this is where this is almost a much deeper discussion, and I don't want to bury it on a Saturday night podcast. I think we may need to look into this a little bit more. But the two big lineups that you're seeing from the NBA, your Hartenstein and
Chet.
Got it. Sorry, Chet. In my mind, I saw a joke where someone called him the 4th best weed dealer on a community college campus, and I just can't. That's what I think of. Like Chet isn't even in my brain, but it's like Chet and Hartenstein, and then you see the pair up in Cleveland.
Jared and Evan Mobley.
Yeah. Those teams have made it work because they have, and this is the real rub, guys. Each of those teams has a S tier playmaker.
Yeah, the Cavs make it work because they got friggin' Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell in their backcourt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also Mobley. Derek Lively is very good, and I think he's going to be very good. But
sure.
he is not as good as Jared Allen or Mobley right now. That's just kind of how it is. And then the other, Boston will sometimes do it with Horford and Porzingis, not a lot, but again, one of those can shoot. Chet can shoot. The teams that do play double bigs, either one of them can shoot, one of the bigs can shoot for threes, or in a Cleveland situation, they've got two extremely dynamic offensive guards, which the Mavericks don't have. And even if Kyrie was playing, they would have one dynamic offensive guard. They wouldn't have two. So, and that makes a difference. Absolutely, that makes a difference. It just does. And I was just watching. It felt like the Mavericks were trying to slam a square peg into a round hole tonight, or just hitting their head against a brick wall, hoping it would break. It felt it's such in vain. I was like, you guys can keep trying this, but it's not going to work. It just won't work. The math won't allow it. It was really, and what was really disheartening was if you're going to play this really big lineup, if it's already kind of funky, do some funky stuff. I think I saw one Davis, PJ Washington pick and roll. I think I saw one Davis Lively pick and roll. Do more stuff like that. They were walking it up and then just sort of getting Davis into an isolation situation, trying to get him to draw a double. And it didn't look good.
Do you want to know do you want to know my theory is there? This is just me being total conspiracy brain theory. They're almost super worried that they're going to have to play the Cavs in a play-in game, so they don't want to show them anything interesting.
You mean the Clippers?
Yeah, sorry, the Clippers. Because they showed nothing in 2 games. It was the most Rick Carlisle-ass coaching game I've seen in some time from the Mavericks, because we've seen Jason Kidd do nothing. My favorite, again, 30 minutes into a podcast, I don't really care. Radio voice of the Mavericks, Chuck Cooperstein, responded to one of your tweets about how good Jason Kidd has been over this last stretch, keeping the locker room together. Jason Kidd is such a clown fraud, but he's actually not a bad coach. He just doesn't coach that much. And that's the part that starts to really chirp away when you're watching games like this, because, okay, the Clippers have more talent, but they didn't. I just keep circling back to what you said. They didn't do anything interesting.
No, they didn't. It was offensively or defensively. It was just, and if you're holding back because you're going to have to play them in the play-in, they got to make the play-in.
They're gonna, but it's whether
or you would like to host the game. You'd like to host that 9-10 game, right?
Yep.
You don't want to have to win 2 straight road games against teams that are better than you, right? To make the playoffs.
It's never happened.
I don't think they have the luxury of hiding stuff right now.
Well,
Like,
but that's what
that's
this
crazy.
but that sums up this coaching staff and this front office and we're smarter than you. We know better. Where I've been arguing, again, this is just me getting a takeoff, but I've been arguing with people on the internet for the past 48 hours about how, oh, well, maybe Nico was smart to get out ahead of Luka because Luka just, his body might break down. And I'm like, are you not watching Anthony Davis come apart at the seams playing basketball? Like, you can say these things, but the reality in which that it's played out makes me feel like a crazy person. So, yeah. Okay. So here's kind of what Josh and I are going to do. Because I don't want to, it's not that I don't want to waste minutes on a podcast like this, but look, you and I will be back on Wednesday. Today's Saturday, Sunday, whatever we want to talk about. The Mavericks have a series of days off. They go home, they're Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, then they play Wednesday in the early game. The Lakers, who they're playing on Wednesday night, play Oklahoma City tomorrow in Oklahoma City, then Oklahoma City on Tuesday, and then come to Dallas. So Josh and I will be recording relatively early, probably at about 9:30 on Wednesday night. Everybody look forward to that. Please join the show. I will absolutely host a secondary show, win or lose after that game. I'm also going to do that now. So those of you who are listening to the podcast, if you have takes, we had Leo join the other night. Thank you, Leo. In days gone by and years gone by, we've often had a lot of callers, but right now I think the Mavericks are just in this point where nobody's really listening. I don't blame anybody, but if you guys like Josh and I, give us a listen. It's appreciative. Okay. We're going to get through this together. All it takes is one lucky bounce of the lottery balls. And I swear to God, if the next idiot who tells me online that there's not a difference in the percentage points, there is a difference in the percentage points. That's how math works.
Literally one number is better than the other.
Like if they were 10th worse, they would have a 3% chance if versus the 14th or whatever it is, where they have a 1% chance. And it's like, that's 3 times more. Sorry. I'm tired of it all. I'm tired of people making justifications and saying, oh, well, they should try. All right. Everybody be good. We'll talk soon. Please stay on the line if you're going to hang out. And Josh and I'll be right back. Josh is going to go do some editing because I shouldn't be editing anything tonight. Everybody, we will be right back. Thanks so much for hanging out. Go Mavs. Welcome to Pod Maverick. This should be group therapy. There, I got to change my logo here. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. This is Kirk Henderson. I'm coming to you at about 12:30 on Sunday morning. This is our secondary live show. If you're unfamiliar with it, you should be. This is where anybody that wants to join the show and talk a little basketball can. We're here to talk about how Cooper Flagg is going to fall to 13 to the Dallas Mavericks after the Duke Blue Devils tanked and lost to Houston tonight. Man, I wish we could talk about that game. Maybe we will. I already got somebody hanging in the comments who's been waiting for 15 minutes. My man Brian, he's a recent joinee of the Mavs Moneyball staff. I've not made him do anything yet. Probably won't for several weeks, but I still wanted to. Brian, how you doing, buddy?
Man, I am wishing I did not stay up to watch that slot, but we are sickos, so here we are.
Well, I mean, that's the real charm of a late night game of knowing that you're watching it with other people, because it really takes a true sicko to watch these West Coast games in any format, even if you're super duper excited.
And it takes a true sicko to watch an ass whooping like that after an ass whooping like the one we had the night before.
That's right.
Oh my
That's
goodness. Oh, boy, where to even begin? Like, I'm so glad that Josh did what he did on like the 80 point. One more thing to add. As for 80, 80 kind of playing as like an elbow hub in the spot that Lively and Daniel Gafford used to be in. Tonight he had 0 assists, 6 turnovers, just as a cherry on top of like no stocks really. So yeah, that was delightful watching him just brick 17, 19, 20 footers over and over and over, while Derek Lively is just standing with his what in his hand. Like
What a
someone made lunch.
worthless 15 minutes from Derek Lively. And in your opinion, so 2 points, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 block. Like, why? What are we doing here?
It was worthless, and I only only blame him for about 30% of it.
Sure.
Like nobody on the team looked like they wanted to defend outside of like maybe past the first quarter, and even then they weren't all that good at it. So he takes blame in that for sure. But dude, that wasn't much he could do. Like especially on offense, he was just kind of like a sitting duck there. Like he knew they were going to help off of him, and more likely than not, whoever it was that was driving wasn't going to be a good enough passer to get a good lob to him in that spot. And more than likely, because the Clippers are like a really good defense and a really connected defense, whoever was helping off of him, there was probably going to be another man sliding over to get a body on him before he could even get to the lob in the first place. So it was really nasty all the way around. I don't like. I tweeted before once we heard that like Lively and Gafford were surely coming back, even though I knew it would look pretty rough early on. There were some bright points, and those are usually in games where AD is making his jump shots, and in the other games, it is some of the worst offense I have ever seen. It is even more slow, and it's very funny. I don't know how you can run offense that is slow but also not methodical. But the Mavericks have somehow figured that out.
Well,
Like
it's
it's
like
not like
the first half closing, it was a broken possession, but Spencer Dinwiddie posted up for 8 seconds.
and got the shot clock violation.
Yeah. Like,
Oh man.
Do you remember how the first game after Luka got traded, we were all like watching Klay Thompson fly around like his Golden State days? And like they just have these games where there's real offense, and then they have these games where there's not. And that's why sort of as the more I think about it, the more I think they're not willing to put anything on tape against these Clippers. Like it was like they thought they could go out there and get a win. I promise they did not expect Kawhi Leonard to play. Like that was like
I don't think anybody did.
Which is fair. So,
yeah, it's rough, but look, man, you got a game plan for it. The other team's best player saying, "Hey, maybe I'll play tonight." Again, his first back-to-back of the season is very funny coming against us. But look, I'm not mad at it. They don't like us. We beat them in the first round of the playoffs. We got some get back on them, and they're like, you know what? That's fine. Y'all down? We ain't feeling bad for y'all. We taking it to y'all every opportunity we get, and that's exactly what they did, and that's what they should do, and that's what Ty Lue had them ready to do.
Oh man, it's just terrible. So I think we kind of hit all the finer points of this game. I don't know. I think pretty subpar PJ Washington game, but I think he sees a guy like Kawhi Leonard and proceeds to go, oh shit. And part of me doesn't really blame him. I guess what I don't know what to make of is the Kai Jones. Like, do we think he's useful?
Yes.
I just don't know what I don't want to like be mean about the guy or anything. Like, obviously the guy who's shooting that high percentage has something. What do you think? Like, do you think he's a guy that should actually be on this match next year?
I believe he should have a standard contract somewhere in the NBA. He was useful when he played for the Clippers earlier in the season. Okay. They just didn't really have the roster room to keep him on because he was a two-way guy with them. We would absolutely benefit, especially if we're going to end up trading Gafford to get a guard in the summer, which is absolutely what we need to do, as much as I love Dan and wish that he could stay. Yeah, having Kai Jones as the backup, especially knowing, knock on wood, how Lively's injury history has been early in his career. And knowing even more importantly, AD's injury history, because AD, as much as he doesn't want to play the 5 or be nominally be the 5, when he's out there, he's playing the 5 on defense usually. usually. Not tonight. He was on against a like 4-in, 1-out, or 4-out, 1-in team like this. He was on the perimeter looking useless. Like, our perimeter defense was garbage. Like, they were getting by dudes left and right: Norm Powell, Bogdan Bogdanovich, James Harden, Derrick Jones Jr. even off the catch, which was super nasty. But shout out to Derrick. They were getting whatever they wanted, getting into the
Yeah.
paint. The only person that was offering any resistance all night was Kai Jones. He had like 5 stocks, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. Like, that's not everything, but that's not nothing. I love this
No.
dude's energy. I love how he plays. I would love to keep him on this team because I think he brings the right attitude to every single game. Maybe that changes if he, gets paid, because we've seen that happen sometimes. But I think that dude, coming from where he's come from to get back to the league, I think he is so grateful for the opportunity to be back here. He is going to play hard just about every night. And we need that. We miss that. We used to have that in a guy with Derrick, and letting him go, as much as I love Najee, I think the offensive upgrade has been greater. But dude, watching Najee defend on one end and then watching Derrick Jones defend on the other end with like Chris Dunn next to him and then Kawhi on the other side and Zubac in the paint, and then they bring Ben Simmons off the bench, and it's like, all right, man. There's almost too much to take, man. I miss Derrick Jones Jr. so much, even though I know why we kind of had to do what we did.
Right. Because, I mean, I think with the way this season has broken out for the Mavericks, our guy has been much more useful. Our guy in Najee Marshall has been much more useful than a Derrick Jones would have been in a similar situation.
Correct.
But when you're humming on all cylinders and the team is constructed the way you want the team to be constructed, I think there's an argument to be made that a high-level team uses Derrick Jones Jr., at least in the early rounds of the playoffs, more than Najee Marshall. Like Josh, let me see where Josh's tweets go. Josh just shared some kind of information about Najee Marshall, where he said here, since Anthony Davis's return, Davis and Marshall have played together in 6 games. In those 6 games, Marshall is averaging 10.8 points. In the previous 10 games Najee played before Davis's return, he averaged 22.2 points. Now that's not to say that Anthony's like what, it's just the usage, like where he's playing. Whereas if you were to slot in a Derrick Jones in that area, you're probably like, you're not getting the highs that you're getting with Najee, but you're certainly getting some of the things we saw with the Clippers tonight. I don't know. It's so difficult to do this sort of stuff.
You know why the usage is down and the ceiling is low with Najee and PJ since AD is back?
Because
there are no driving lanes.
Yes.
There are no driving lanes. PJ, since AD has come back, PJ has been stripped on drives more times and on average in games than I think he was at any point this season.
Oh yeah, because we've been very critical of his ball handling skills going back to the Boston Celtics series where he just died, where it was all of a sudden he couldn't dribble. I thought he had made some real strides this year, and I think the answer is he actually isn't that different, which is okay because the NBA is hard. But now you're watching him with less space, and it's like, ew.
Yeah, that's the thing. I do think that he made some strides over the summer and like early on before the first ankle injury that happened around the time of the Phoenix game when he went like 0 for 12 in a game, something like that, super early, like November. After he came back from that point on, his drives were crisp for the most part. He was protecting the ball. He was hugging the ball close to his body on his drives, and he was like getting to the rim when he wanted, getting to the free throw line, things like that. It was easier to do when there was more space and he was playing the 4, but now he's playing out of position and AD is like taking the ball like at the top of the key or whatever, or at the elbow, and Lively's sitting in the dunker spot, so they're going to be 3 feet in the paint at all times, including his man now, and then not to mention his man who's also guarding him. So like even if he gets by his dude, there are hands swiping at the ball the entire time he's driving, and yeah, it's just looked like a bad Rudy Gay impression.
Yep, which is just really something. Any thoughts on that national championship game? I didn't get to watch it as closely as I would have liked. Well, not the national championship game, the semifinal
Final
game.
Four.
Both of them, the 2 of them.
Hey, that Florida Auburn, that was a barn burner. That Walter Clayton Jr. kid, that kid is a stud. That is a lock first round pick. if you didn't have him mocked going in the first round, you need to update your rankings. That kid is going in the first round. It's pretty rock solid. And if a team is smart, he's going in the late teens, probably. There's definitely a team that can use what he brings as a shooter and as a scorer, and then as a defensive playmaker.
We're
He
having
can use that.
Well, I mean, this is we're going to talk so much about prospects over the next several months, and then the Mavericks are just going to trade the pick anyways. That said, though, like you see some guys and you see some real opportunities, and you know, you listen to other shows and you start watching tape, and there's just a lot of fun guys if you want to project forward with different stuff. The second game, obviously, the University of Houston comeback was really, really shockingly impressive. I'm gonna, I had one of my group chat friends thought that the who was it? One of the Duke players thought he suffered. He thought the guy suffered a concussion that didn't get called. I'm gonna go. Which player was it? I'm gonna go because I'm gonna look at the names and then I'll remember. Was it Sion James? Yeah, I think it was, because he only had 2 turnovers, but they ran a bunch of out of bounds plays that got really broken up and they just got goofy towards the end. And it's
I'll tell you what it was, man. Wells got tight. They started shitting down their pants towards the end of the game.
Yeah,
teams make shots. They were giving up buckets and they couldn't get anything to go. Unfortunately that's just how basketball is.
Sure, that's basketball.
A 80-something free throw shooter, and Tyrese Parker goes to the line, clanks both free throws. A 62% free throw shooter on a terrible foul call on Cooper. That was awful.
I mean, but I was arguing with one friend vehemently, and it probably is a foul, but it's the way the ball ricocheted off, I don't think it impacted either player's ability to get the rebound. I don't know. If you're watching, if you guys watched, you'll see what I mean. But again, Duke had so many chances to actually score and do something with it. That call wasn't the call. It's just a disappointing way to go. I think Florida. I sort of think Florida beats the shit out of Houston. I don't know.
I am done underestimating both.
That's
Florida
true, man.
And Houston. They can duke it out for all I care.
That's true. I saw that Instagram post from ESPN where it's the average Houston basketball player runs a mile in 5 minutes and 20 seconds or something, and I'm like, what? It was a whole. They've had some great social media posts ESPN has about Houston, stuff I really enjoyed. So
interesting.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Because they showed something of Kelvin Sampson basically going classroom to classroom in 2016, trying to get students to go to games. Because they just, it's like University of Houston. The last time they mattered was when Hakeem went there. What are we doing? Yep. So, all right. So you guys heard me on the last show. If you didn't, because we'll be posting this a little bit either Sunday afternoon or Monday. I might try to find time to host something to talk a little bit pre-Luka Mavericks. That game's at 6:30 on Wednesday. That should be interesting. We'll host a post-game show and then definitely host one of these shows where anybody can come talk basketball. I know I'm getting fewer and fewer people in here, not because I suck. Well, maybe because I suck, but just because I think fewer people are actually tuning in to watch live. But we appreciate Brian for hanging out with us. Check out Mavs Moneyball. We ain't really doing that much lately. We're just trying to make it to the end of the season. I don't really know. This has been so terrible. We're
just trying to make it like y'all.
That's right. That's right. That's right. All right. So thank you to Brian. Thank you to everybody else. Thank you for everyone listening. This has been Kirk Henderson with Group Therapy Live. Brian has joined us. We will be back Wednesday at some point. Everybody have a great rest of your weekend and go Mavs ? Bye, guys.
Yep.